Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we talk the latest news, rumors, and games out of the NFL and college football from the latest signs to this year's breakout stars and all the news in between, as always. Jeremiah.
And I'm Ben, and that was a lot of excitement there.
NFL is back. Of course I'm excited, dude. And it was a great game. Great game. Great way to start off the NFL season.
Yes, we kicked off the NFL season last night with the first Super Bowl rematch since 1970 with the defending champion Denver Broncos coming out on top 21-20 over the NFC champion Carolina Panthers. It was a great game. The Panthers had a chance at the end of the game. Graham Gano misses a 50-yard field goal with about 9 seconds left. What did you take away from the game? Some of your takeaways.
Dude, well, first of all, this was a more competitive game than the Super Bowl. I wish this was the game for the Super Bowl.
A lot more scoring.
But there's a lot to take from this game. You know, the hits that Cam Newton took, you know, people were saying, oh, those are a lot of questionable hits. They didn't get a lot of calls. Maybe it's because Cam Newton's a running quarterback. Trevor Siemian, his first NFL start, he won. There's a lot to get into here, but before I get into talking about Cam Newton and all that, I want to talk about Trevor Siemian.
Okay.
He won his first NFL start.
Yes. It was the first time he had ever thrown a regular season pass. He didn't light up the numbers. You know, he was 18 of 26, 178 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But as you mentioned, he did do enough. He led them on a couple of scoring drives. C.J. Anderson played great. He had 92 yards rushing on 20 carries with a touchdown. He also had 47 yards receiving and a touchdown. He had the 25-yard touchdown on the screen pass. So C.J. Anderson really played great against a tough Carolina defense, a good front seven, good run-stopping defense. So I think if C.J. Anderson can continue all that this season, I think Denver's going to be just fine. Their defense, obviously, still the best in the league. They showed that last night. They hit Cam Newton quite a lot. I thought Cam Newton, I was really surprised that he didn't really get checked for a concussion. The NFL did say that they thought that he looked okay, and they did look at him, but nothing too extensive, nothing too deep. You know, Cam Newton, at the end there, when he got hit by Darian Stewart on the last drive, he was on the ground rolling around for a few seconds, and no one even came out to see if he was okay. I was surprised at that.
Yeah, but I know, and I was going to get to that a little bit after Trevor Siemian here, which I'm glad you really brought that up because that was my next topic I want to talk about last night's game. But getting back to Trevor Siemian, you know, he played the way I thought he would. He had a couple of bad picks. One of them was tipped. One of them was underthrown. But he outplayed Cam Newton in the final quarter. I'm going to just flat out say he outplayed him in the final quarter because he led his team to a 10-point comeback. Entering the final quarter, his team was down 17-7. And then by the end, they were up 21-17. And Cam Newton had a chance to score a touchdown, and he didn't. And don't get me wrong, he had a chance. He led his team down. Cam Newton led his team to a chance to win the game, but it was a 50-yard field goal. And I know they have Graham Gano, or last night people like to call him Graham Gano, but
Graham Gano. That's what I put on Twitter. I put Graham Gano. Oh no.
Yeah. People said that, but I thought it was funny. But yeah, man, I'm gonna just say it. Trevor Siemian outplayed Cam Newton last night in the fourth quarter. I'm gonna say it.
I mean,
which I know it's a tough thing to say, but hey, Trevor Siemian is the winning quarterback. I know his defense played well.
Exactly.
Extremely well. And I know that, but, he outplayed him in the fourth quarter. Don't get me wrong. Cam Newton had a good game. He had a good game. He was playing good defense, but you have to give credit to Trevor Siemian. He managed the game well, and I'm not going to have any high expectations. I don't think he's going to light up in any game, but he played well when he needed to.
Exactly. I would say a lot of what you said. I guess you could say Siemian maybe outplayed Cam Newton because he did lead them on scoring drives. Obviously, they got a little beneficiary doubt when that interception by Harris. Obviously, it was a great interception. I don't know how he caught that, but
yeah, Chris Harris was he played a heck of a game last night.
Yeah, that was a great interception. So I guess you could say that maybe, but as you mentioned, Siemian being just a game manager, that's really this Denver offense. Think about even last year, Peyton Manning, Brock Osweiler, they were doing the exact same thing. Trevor Siemian, 178 yards. He's not in there to throw it 40 times, throw for 300 yards, and throw for 3 touchdowns. He's there to just not make too many big mistakes. He made a couple last night, 2 interceptions. They had 3 toners overall. Devontae Booker fumbled on his first NFL carry. So the defense kind of bailed him out there. So, I mean, I don't know. I think, obviously, if C.J. Anderson can run the ball like he did last night, I think Denver's going to be fine. If they can't run the ball, I think Denver are really going to be worried because I don't think Siemian can do enough to carry this team. Even with the weapons he has, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders.
No, and I completely agree. That's all it is. The running game is extremely important for the Denver Broncos. And C.J. Anderson, after starting last season, Anderson had 1 touchdown in the first 7 weeks. He had a slow start. Last night, he got off to a great start. 92 yards for 1 touchdown. In the first game, he didn't even have 1 touch. He had 1 touchdown in the first 7 games last year. So the fact that C.J. Anderson's playing well this year is huge for the Denver Broncos because they didn't have the running game to a great start last year, and the fact that they're starting off really well without, I wouldn't say like an elite quarterback, a quarterback that can't pass for 300 yards a game, which Trevor Siemian doesn't really need to do, as we saw last night. They'll be fine. The running game is there. The defense is still there. If Trevor Siemian just limits mistakes, manages the game well, doesn't lose the game, and just happens to, make plays when he needs to, this team's going to be fine. And I honestly think I think they can win the AFC West again. I know that it's a lot more competitive, and don't get me wrong, the Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to make this a competitive division. It's going to make it interesting, but Denver Broncos they still have the best defense in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people sort of counted out Denver after this offseason. Going into the season, I still predicted Denver to win the AFC West, and even after last night, you obviously have to say I think they're going to. I think they'll go maybe like 11-5, 10-6 because of that defense. You saw what they did last night against a top-level offense, a top QB in Cam Newton. They completely shut them down, just like they did in the Super Bowl. For Carolina, I think there were some positives. You had the return of Kelvin Benjamin. He looked great. He had 91 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown. Greg Olsen, the model of consistency at tight end, 7 receptions for 73 yards. But other than that, no one else really stepped up. Cam Newton had 18 completions. 13 of them were to those 2 guys. No one else on the team had more than 1 catch besides those 2. So I think you're going to need more consistency from guys like Ted Ginn, Devin Funchess, whoever else can contribute at the wide receiver position for Carolina if they're going to be successful. Maybe they start doing some things with the running backs. Mike Tolbert's a good receiving back. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But Carolina, I think they're going to be just okay. It was a tough game. They had a shot to win on the road. Tough defense. Graham Gano misses a 50-yard field goal. 50-yard field goal you're expected to make, but it's not a gimme. You know what I mean? So I think Carolina's going to be just fine. But Carolina already loses as many games as they did all of last year, 15-1, 0-1. So.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. The Panthers will be fine. They play the 49ers at home next week. So
with a week and a half to prepare, and the Niners will be on a short week.
Exactly. So they'll be fine. And I expect them to win that game. I expect them to win that game. And then plus, Cam Newton is the best quarterback in his division, and the Panthers are one of the most balanced teams in the league, have the best defense in that division, so they'll be fine. But I want to get into Cam Newton. He got hit. He took some really, really hard hits, especially in the head. especially on the final drive of that game. You know, he took a brutal shot to the head, which was called, but it was offset by a penalty on offense because when Cam Newton threw the ball when he was getting hit, but it was intentional grounding, and so they had to replay the down.
Right.
I felt I didn't really like that because, you know, you're in a league that, you know, they advocate for player safety, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't really see it. I feel like Cam Newton wasn't protected last night.
I agree with you. I said that a little bit earlier. I felt like Cam Newton really gets treated maybe a little differently because of the style of quarterback he is. He's, you know, the biggest guy out there. If that were Tom Brady getting hit, if that were Eli Manning, Drew Brees, I think that would have been treated a lot differently. Obviously, the penalty was called and thrown, so I feel like that was definitely the right play or the right sort of, I don't know, signal. So I think that was right. But there were a lot of other questionable calls, maybe, you know, on the fence. I feel like maybe if it were a different quarterback, it would have been treated differently. But Cam Newton, in his own right, kind of sort of does this to himself. He runs the ball a lot. He had 11 carries last night. So you have to treat him as a running back in that stance. And because he moves around so much, it's a lot harder to keep up with the pace of the game as opposed to if you're just standing there like a statue. So I think there's some truth to that. But you can kind of play the other side there and say, if he was the prototypical quarterback, he would have been treated a little differently. But still, it's not fair. It's not something that should be treated that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree with you. He is a running quarterback, and that's why he is treated so much differently as the likes of, you know, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, the prototypical, you know, pocket passers. And, you know, he didn't even get checked out after the game, you know, and, well, not after the game, but, like, after that play, you know, he was just on the ground. And I got to hand it to Cam Newton. You know, he showed a lot of toughness last night because of those hits. But that, honestly, though, some of those hits on Cam Newton, like, do you see that they're more physical hits or were they just, like, cheap shots? You know, they weren't called. They were not called. And by today's league rules, you got to say, you know, maybe they got away with some of those because they can't do that. The Broncos cannot do that next week against the Indianapolis Colts. If they hit Andrew Luck like that, players are going to get flagged. And don't get me wrong, I don't know if any of those hits are going to cause some fines, which I think they might. I'm pretty sure they might because, you know, those are things that
I
the
think
NFL
I think
takes
Stewart is definitely going to be
he's gonna get fined.
Contributing donations to the NFL this week.
Donating to the NFL. I like
think
that.
He will definitely
I like
be doing that.
He's donating to charity, the NFL. I'm kidding. But, yeah, Broncos can't do hits like that, especially next week when they take on Andrew Luck.
I think you're right.
I think can't do that.
A couple of them were kind of questionable. I think the one hit where DeMarcus Ware sacked Cam Newton and then he kind of ran into Von Miller, like into his face mask. I don't think Von Miller could have done anything differently. He was just kind of running towards him, and then DeMarcus Ware sort of knocked Newton towards Von Miller, and they're similar height, so of course they clash heads. So I don't think you can do anything differently about that.
That was like a bang-bang play, you know.
Right.
Like,
so, I mean, that happens. Concussions are a part of the game. No matter how hard you try to limit them, they're not going to go away. So I think that's a lot more difficult. But I think a lot of what you just said is true. And I think the Panthers are going to send in a lot of game tape to the NFL, to the officials, saying, look, our guy's getting targeted. Our guy's getting hit in the head. Nothing's getting called. Questionable calls. I think maybe it's going to be looked at a lot more, especially against Denver, who were the team doing it. You know what I mean? So I think that will maybe be looked at a lot more. So maybe they'll have to be a little more cautious.
Yeah. So, yeah, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
So the Denver Broncos start off the regular season 1-0. In the last 13 years, the defending Super Bowl champion is 11-2 on opening night. Ironically, the last team to lose was against the Broncos. You look at the Baltimore Ravens when they got absolutely trounced in Denver a few years back. Peyton Manning had 7 touchdowns.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So, Denver Broncos start off their season 1-0. They have a week and a half to prepare for the Colts, as Jeremiah mentioned. The Panthers will also have a week and a half to prepare against the San Francisco 49ers, a game they should be heavily favored in that game as well. So, with that being said, we're going to take our first break here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. Coming out of the break, it is time, Jeremiah.
Yes.
We are going to preview Week 1.
A Daniel Bryan voice. Yes.
We are going to preview week 1 of the NFL season. Got a lot of great games on schedule for us, and we'll be breaking them down right after the break here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. We're going to be breaking down week 1. Finally, it's been a long summer, and we are back here. Our baby has returned home. The NFL is back. Week 1, Jeremiah, there's a lot of games, but we're going to break down just a few of them. We don't have all day to talk as much as we would like to.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have the time.
We don't have the liberty
we
and
don't have
time
the time
to do that.
Yeah.
So there's a couple games that you are really looking forward to. Go ahead.
Yeah, the game that I have my eye on when I have the schedule of looking at every game. The first game I want to talk about, Jacksonville Jaguars at home against the Green Bay Packers. This is a game I had my. This is honestly potential upset on, and I think it could be. I'm really excited to see this Jacksonville offense. I've been so highly on since the start of the show. You know, you got Blake Bortles, Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns. You going against practically okay defense to mediocre, average, below average defense.
I agree. The Packers have not had the defense they've had since they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then you got the Packers. You know, they got Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson's coming back. I don't know how many snaps he's going to play.
Reports are that he's not going to be limited at all. He's going to be ready to go. So,
exactly.
And you would think so, missing the whole entire season, didn't play in the preseason, didn't really do much in training camp. So I would expect him to be ready to go. A lot of times people recover from these ACL injuries with no issues at all. Kelvin Benjamin did good last night when he recovered from ACL injury. Look at Adrian Peterson. He almost breaks the rushing record coming off an ACL injury. So I wouldn't be surprised. He should be ready to go.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised if Jordy Nelson would be ready to go after seeing Kelvin Benjamin last night. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see Jordy Nelson back on the field. So it could potentially be like a shootout. I think.
You think so?
Dude.
The over-under is 48.
Dude, the Jacksonville Jaguars have so many weapons on offense. It is insane. And both of these teams don't have really good defenses. So I'm expecting a very exciting game. But I have the Packers winning this game.
Okay.
But I do think it's going to be a very entertaining game. And people cannot sleep on the Jaguars this year. I'm just telling you that right now. People cannot sleep on them.
Okay, as far as the game goes, I think you make some good points. Jacksonville Jaguars have a good offense coming off a good season last year. Blake Bortles, really his breakout season, kind of needs to just limit turnovers. They added Chris Ivory in the running game to complement TJ Yeldon, so they have a nice 1-2 punch in the backfield. Obviously, Allen Robinson, 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, breakout year last year as well. So when I look at this game, I think a lot of times with these Florida teams, Miami, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, in September, it is really, really hard to win there because you have the difference in temperature. You have humidity. This game is projected to be about 93 degrees. You could experience some thunderstorms. You have the tropical climate. You have humidity. It's tough to go down to Florida and win in September. A lot of teams struggle when they go down there. I think Jacksonville is going to have that advantage because they're at home. I think Green Bay's offense is a lot better. I think it's a lot more explosive. I think Jacksonville is an up-and-coming team. A lot of people are really believing the hype. I think maybe they're a year away. I think their defense needs to show me a lot more. A lot of good young players. Think about they drafted Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack. They have Dante Fowler Jr. coming back from injury last year, their first-round pick out of Florida as a pass rusher. So I think I want to see a little more of their defense before I can sort of believe the hype. Green Bay's favored by 5.5. I think that's a lot on the road. I would expect maybe a closer game. I think Green Bay wins by a possession.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's going to be like either a by field goal or a touchdown, and I think this game is going to come down to the final drive.
It could be. I mean, there's nothing more you would hope for. Obviously, as a Green Bay fan, I'm hoping for like 50-0, but I mean, that's not going to be the case, I don't think. So we'll have to wait and see. But there's some other games you're really interested in?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Another team that has been drawing a lot of hype this season is the Oakland Raiders.
Yes.
In
my opinion, this is my game of the weekend.
Yeah, game of the weekend. They're going against the New Orleans Saints at the Superdome. I still call it the Superdome, even though
it is still the Superdome. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Yeah, I don't like that name. It's not catchy. But anyways, honestly, this could be a really, really great game. The Saints don't have a good defense. The Raiders have an okay defense, but it's not great. From the preseason, they just kind of contain some people, some teams. But these two teams have one legendary quarterback in Drew Brees for the Saints, and the Raiders have Derek Carr, an up-and-coming quarterback who I think is going to have a phenomenal year after throwing more than 30 touchdowns last season. Both of these teams are going to be explosive. The Saints have, they're known for offense for the past couple of years. The Raiders, I don't know. I think this is going to be a very explosive offense this season. They can challenge for the Denver Broncos for the division title, like I previously said in the last segment. I have to go with the Oakland Raiders in this game.
Really?
I think they start off the year with a win, yes.
Okay, when I look at this game, a couple of things pop out to me. New Orleans is favored by 1.5 points at home. I found that really surprising. Usually when you look at the home team, you can factor in 3 points. So if this were at a neutral site, then according to the odds, you'd have the Raiders favored at 1.5. You look at New Orleans, you mentioned their defense last year, historically bad, absolutely bad. I don't think they did anything really to improve it except changing defensive coordinators, so maybe a few scheme issues you can change up, but personnel is going to be the same. So I expect a shootout. The over-under is 51. I'm taking the over. I think both these teams are going to score in the 30s.
Maybe the 40s. I don't know.
I think the Saints come away in a shootout. I'm going to say something like 34-30. I think they're going to win because they are the home team. I do expect the Raiders to compete. I think Amari Cooper is going to have a great breakout year. A lot of times you see the second-year receivers really break out, a la Allen Robinson last year. So I think Amari Cooper is going to have a great season. I'd expect maybe 100 yards and a touchdown this game. Michael Crabtree is a good compliment on the other side. I'm going to say the Saints win like 34-30. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be the game of the weekend. Definitely a lot of offense.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are going to win 38-31.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 38-31.
It's possible.
Don't get me wrong.
I just don't see the Saints losing on the opening game in the Dome. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I have to. The Raiders are expected to have a great season, and for them to do that, they're going to have to come into an environment on the road. They're going to have to win games like this. They're going to have to if they want to have any shot of the playoffs. Because the Saints, I don't think they're a playoff team this year.
I don't either.
I don't think. And so Raiders are going to have to win games. They're going to have to win these type of games if they want to be a playoff team. That's why I think it's so important for them to start off the year with a win on the road, and the game they're not favored. But this game can go either way.
I agree. I think it's going to be the game of the weekend.
And I think Michael Crabtree is going to have a really phenomenal year. Amari Cooper is going to have a good year. The only thing that really concerns about the Raiders, though, is their running game. Like Latavius Murray, he doesn't look explosive off the line. They got a guy in Washington as their backup, and he looks really good in the preseason. So that's the only concern I have. But the passing game, I'm not really too concerned about it. They have a lot of weapons. And don't forget about the tight end in Oakland, Clyde Wolford.
Yeah, I agree. So a couple of games that I'm really looking forward to, and a couple, in my opinion, I think could be possible upsets. Like I actually am going to go out on a limb and say they're an upsets. Is I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Is that an upset, though?
Yes. The Eagles are at home. They're favored by 3.5 points. I'm going to take the Browns over the Eagles. I think you look at Carson Wentz, the number 2 overall pick out of North Dakota State. Coming in, he's playing Division II college teams. It's not like he's playing in the SEC. He's playing top defenses.
North Dakota State is one of the top football programs, though.
Right, for Division II. Yeah. So it's not like he's playing top college football programs.
But he's beaten some top college football programs during his time.
Right, but I mean, it's a lot different playing them week in and week out.
I get that, but I'm just saying, they're a good program.
and he gets injured in the first preseason game with the hairline fracture to the ribs, so he only plays in 1 out of 4 preseason games. The Eagles trade Sam Bradford to the Vikings. They named Wentz the starter just about a week ago, so they have a week to sort of get him up to speed and get him ready to start. I think he's going to struggle. I expect him to have at least 2 turnovers. I think the Browns come into Philly and win a close game.
Yeah, is that an upset though? Because
it is. The Eagles are favored.
Yeah, but the Eagles are not expected. Like they're okay. I honestly,
but neither are the Browns. The Browns have the worst odds to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they do. It's even. Yeah, they always do.
And the Browns are literally a train wreck within the last decade.
Yeah, but honestly though, I do expect the Browns to have a better year than previous.
And it's possible.
But honestly, though, I'm not expecting a really great year or good year for that matter for the Eagles. I only see them winning like 5, maybe 6 games, maybe 4.
Yeah, I see the Eagles finishing last in the division.
I don't see this as an upset because these two teams, as of right now, they're equally matched. And I do see the Browns winning this game. And I do think RG3 is going to have a bounce-back year. I think he's a candidate to be comeback player of the year.
It's possible. I mean, Hugh Jackson is kind of like a little quarterback whisperer. Think about what he's done with Andy Dalton in the last couple of years. They have some targets. They drafted Corey Coleman out of Baylor in the first round. Gary Barnidge had a good year at tight end last year. You have to wait 4 games for Josh Gordon to come back, but I think he'll be really explosive, add another element to that offense. I'm going to take the Browns. So another game I have my eyes on that I think is a possible upset as well is I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans over the Minnesota Vikings. Tennessee has won their last 3 season openers, although obviously they're not finishing as well as they're starting. Minnesota's favored by 2.5 on the road. They're coming in with probably Shaun Hill being their starter. After Teddy Bridgewater tore his ACL, they're still kind of down in the dumps maybe a little bit. Minnesota, a team that's going to run the ball, play defense. I think Tennessee had a great preseason. They win their last 3 season openers. I'm going to take the Titans.
No, and I agree. I got the Tennessee Titans in this game too. Remember the first game last season, Tennessee Titans taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Marcus Mariota versus
Battle of the number 1 and number 2 overall picks.
Marcus Mariota torched that Tampa Bay defense. And, don't get me wrong. The Vikings are a better defense this year than possibly last year. But they have Shaun Hill quarterback, and, can Adrian Peterson, can he run it 30 times a game? He's he's up there in age.
Yeah, he's about to be 32.
He's about to be 32, and I still think Adrian Peterson can play, but I really do think Tennessee Titans are on the up and up, as I like to say. And they have really good, solid weapons on offense. They got Sharp Matthews, Taji Sharp, who I think he's going to have a really good year. I think he's a Rookie of the Year candidate. And they got DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry as the 1-2 punch. So everything is there in place for Marcus Mariota to have a really good season. And I think this game's going to be close. I think this game's going to be close because Minnesota Vikings defense, they're going to keep them in the game. But I got Tennessee in this game, plus they're at home too. So
exactly.
I have them starting off the season 1-0, and I don't know. I'm actually really excited about this game, and I'm just excited for every game, honestly.
As am I, my friend, and I think really the game that's going to steal a lot of the headlines, at least going into the weekend, is going to be the New York Giants going in to Dallas to face on the Cowboys. Obviously, you have the season debut of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott for Dallas, and then you have the Giants coming off of a year where they should have won a lot more games than they did, but kind of choked them away in the last fourth quarter. I'm a big believer in the Giants this year. I think they're going to win the division hands down. I think they're the best team. I think Eli Manning has a huge year because they don't have much of a running game. I'm taking the Giants in this game. I'm going to say by at least 10 points. I think this is my lock of the week. I think the Giants are going to win this game hands down. Okay,
speaking of upsets, I got the Cowboys upsetting the Giants. I do think Ezekiel is going to have a great game. He's going to have a great debut. Dak Prescott is going to be – I think he's going to play really good. He shows some poise in the preseason. I know it's preseason, but when he would –
it has to count for something.
But no, it does because, he did start the first game against the LA Rams in the preseason, and he did really well in that game against the first team defense. But if the Cowboys are going to win, it's going to be a close game. I don't see them blowing out the Giants, and it could honestly potentially be a shootout because both of these defenses are not very good.
Yeah.
And Eli Manning is going to probably have a really good game. OBJ is going to have a good game. I'm actually expecting a really good game from Sterling Shepard, the rookie in New York. And so I got the Cowboys in this game. I think it's an upset because the Cowboys have a rookie quarterback but they're at home. So I think they're going to win that game.
I mean, it's possible. I think this is really my lock. I think the Giants, they did a lot in the offseason to try and improve that defense. They spent a lot of money. I think there's less question marks with them. I think the problem last year is that they just couldn't finish games. I think they have to find a way to sort of get it done. I think obviously the proof is right there. They need to just be a lot more poised in the last couple of minutes. Thinking about what they did week 1 last year against the Cowboys, choked it away. So I think the Giants are going to have a monster year. I think they're going to win the division quite easily. I think Philly's not that good. I think Washington's decent. Maybe they'll vie for a wild card spot. I think Dallas is going to struggle, honestly, with Dak Prescott.
Really? Okay.
I think obviously the preseason he played quite well, but the regular season's a lot different demeanor, a lot different types of play calls. So I don't know what to really expect. I think he's going to add some elements with the ground. I would expect him to run some maybe zone read stuff, some spread stuff like he did in college at Mississippi State. You have Ezekiel Elliott, another question mark, never played in the NFL before. He's really, really highly touted, expected to come out and play great offensive line, but we just never know because it's literally an unknown, I'm going to take the Giants.
Something I do want to point out, Dak Prescott's connection with Des Bryant is insane. They have a really good relationship on the field, and you've seen it in the preseason. But moving on, I have my lock of the week. It's the Arizona Cardinals defeating the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, it's possible. Arizona is at home. They are favored by 6 in that game. Obviously, look at the Patriots. Going to be without Tom Brady for the first 4 games, so you have Jimmy Garoppolo leading the team. I think Arizona is definitely the team that's going to come out on top here. I think they'll win. I think, honestly, the Giants are going to win a lot more convincingly over the Cowboys. I think the way New England Patriots are set up, a lot of short passes. I would expect them to run the ball a lot. I would see LeGarrette Blount try to pound the ball a lot. Arizona, good defense. I don't know if Tyler Matthews is going to play or not, though.
No, I think he is.
Okay.
I don't think it's quite sure if he's going to play week 1.
Okay, but Arizona, a really highly prolific offense, good weapons on the outside. Running back David Johnson, expect to have a huge year. I think the Cardinals are going to come out on top. I say 1 possession game. I think it could go either way. I think that they'll try and keep it simple for Garoppolo. A lot of short passes. I expect Edelman over the middle a lot of running with LeGarrette Blount. James White maybe out of the backfield doing some screen stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. But I do like the Cardinals as well.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Monday night games probably Monday.
Yeah, I look at them, and obviously I look at the LA Rams and the 49ers. I feel like it's almost a crime that one of these teams has to win. You know what I mean? Because I think both these teams are going to finish within the bottom of the NFC.
I'm gonna be completely honest. It's a good thing on the East Coast this game starts at 10:20 because no one's gonna stay up for this game.
Yeah, I mean,
no one's gonna stay up.
Like I said, it's almost a crime that one of these two teams has to be 1-0. But obviously, look at the Niners last year. They went out on their regular season debut on Monday Night Football and absolutely dismantled Minnesota Vikings, who were in the playoffs. And the Niners
won the division.
And the Niners, one of the worst teams in the league. So, I mean, quite a role reversal there. We'll have to wait and see what happens on Monday. The coaching debut of Chip Kelly, Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. LA Rams back in LA, obviously on the road in their first game, so we won't get to see them playing in LA until next week. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens on Monday.
All right, cool. Yes, we'll have to wait and see, but we're going to have to take our second break, and we're getting to some college football.
Yes, not too much highly anticipated games this week, but yeah, we'll still preview some good ones, as well as some other NFL news as we lead into the weekend. Yes. So we're going to be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and it's time to get into some college football.
Yes, there's not too much on the schedule. We were, pleasured so much last week.
Yeah, we were kind of
Games
spoiled.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We were spoiled last week.
We were spoiled last week.
And then this week, it seems like the majority of teams kind of took the week off, scheduled a preseason game, if you might say, a cupcake school, whatever you want to call it, as they had such a good week last week, kind of taking the week off here. But there are still some interesting games that we are going to preview, some games that could go down to the wire, some games that could be interesting.
Yes, and the game that's been making headlines this week is the battle at the Bristol, Virginia Tech versus Tennessee.
Yeah,
it's
the
a huge game.
The
huge
game at
for
Bristol
Tennessee.
Motor Speedway in Tennessee.
This is a huge game for Tennessee.
Absolutely. Coming off of although it was a victory, kind of a letdown, if you might say, on Thursday night against Appalachian State. Had to go to overtime to defeat a AA school. Now they're facing an ACC school in Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, not really the powerhouse that they have been over the last decade, kind of struggling as of late. I see Tennessee is definitely favored. Here's my big takeaway. You mentioned at Bristol Motor Speedway, they are expecting 150,000 fans.
They are.
Usually, you see 100,000, maybe 105,000 at some of these huge college football venues. But you're seeing 1.5 times that here at Bristol Motor Speedway. That is absolutely insane. That's a lot of people, man.
It's a lot for a college game, yeah.
That's a lot of people. 150,000 people. That noise crowd is going to be ridiculous.
And I got Tennessee winning this game. They have to win this game because they had such a letdown with Appalachian State. I know they won, but Appalachian State is an FCS school. That was a team that many thought that they should have ran away with. But in Virginia Tech, they're not. Don't get me wrong, they're not a team that they can,
look over. I agree.
So this is why it's an important game for Tennessee. They can't look over any more opponents as of right now if they want a shot to win their division in the SEC. And we know how the SEC is with every team in there. Georgia is probably ranked the highest in Tennessee's division right now.
Yeah, Tennessee, they really need to – I think they need to come out and make a statement after everyone's kind of counting them out and disregarding them after what they had against Appalachian State in their season opener. So I think they really need to come out and sort of put a stamp on everyone saying that we are still a good team. We had a letdown. We kind of looked over them, kind of took them easy. Then we need to come out and make a statement. I think they might do that. I really don't know. I think Tennessee is so confusing because of their game last week. I don't know really what to expect. So obviously Josh Dobbs, Jalen Hurd, good offense. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I think Tennessee is going to win the game. They're favored by 11.5. I think that's kind of a lot, though.
That is a lot.
With how they played last week, I think that's kind of a lot. I think Tennessee will still win, though.
Yeah, I see them winning by probably a possession, maybe 10 points. But, But anyways, my upset of the week in college football.
Go ahead.
San Diego State over Cal.
San Diego State is really projected to maybe even win out.
Yeah.
Cal didn't play last week after they played Hawaii over in Australia a couple weeks ago. Cal, I think we all know what to expect with Cal. They're going to score 50 and give up 40. So, I mean, it's possible that highly prolific offense. San Diego State has
a good offense, too.
Exactly. So, that is a possibility. I could see it happening. If I were to throw an upset, I mean, I don't really know what to say. A lot of these games are obviously hard to predict, pretty much set in stone. If I had to throw an upset, I'm gonna say Iowa State over Iowa. You have a rivalry game, so obviously you're gonna get hyped up about that. Iowa State competed last year at home. They are going on the road in Iowa, who's ranked 16 overall. Iowa should win the game. They're favored by 15. But I'm gonna say Iowa State maybe keeps it close, has a chance in the fourth quarter. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's also a game that should be really interesting. These teams always compete well against each other.
Absolutely. So we have some other games that are maybe have the possibility of being quite good. We have Arkansas going in to face number 15 TCU. That is going to be a night game out there in Texas. And looks like we're going to have some thunderstorms there. Prediction is like 82 degrees with thunderstorms. TCU is favored by only 7.5. Obviously, against SEC school like Arkansas, a tough matchup. Arkansas kind of trying to revitalize their program now. I think TCU still wins the game. I think it'll be a shootout.
Yo, and I agree with you on it being the shootout. You know, TCU for a little bit last week in their game against South Dakota State, they were down at times, and that's why I think Arkansas might have a chance. But TCU's offense with Kenny Hill, or as people like to call him, Kenny Trill or something like that. That I do think this game's going to be a shootout, and TCU is going to go out on top, and they have to if they want any chance, to go into the college football playoffs, which I kind of think is kind of a stretch.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen
too.
for TCU, but if they want any shot to, stay ranked, they have to win this game. But another upset, BYU over Utah, can that happen?
I mean, it's possible. Utah did lose a lot of players from a team that was really good last year. Think about Devontae Booker, now a member of the Denver Broncos. Didn't do quite well last night. Fumbled his first regular season carry, but he was a good player for them last year. BYU, a good team, good quarterback. I mean, it's possible. Like I said, Battle of Utah, you get kind of amped up for these rivalry games. So, I mean, it's possible. I think that's probably the best game of the weekend, honestly.
Really, BYU and Utah?
Yeah, I think that could be the most competitive game.
You know what? I agree with you on that because this game, I honestly think this game's getting overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, because you don't see either of these teams ranked, so I mean, it's not stealing national headlines.
Yeah.
But
the game that's been making all the headlines is Tennessee and Virginia Tech. So, yeah, I do think this is going to be probably game of the week if it, happens to be any way that we think it's going to play out. But, yeah, I do see this game as being competitive. And it's also on a national televised game. It's on Fox, too. So,
yeah.
So I'm excited to see this game.
Yeah, I think it could go down as one of the best of the weekend. I mean, like I said, we don't really have too much to really look at this weekend. A lot of teams kind of scheduled, lesser opponents after scheduling good teams last week. But then, we look towards next week. We have some great games. Florida State's playing Louisville. We have the big one in Oklahoma and Ohio State. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to wait.
That's for next week. That's next week. Yeah.
So we're going to end the show here. I kind of have some interesting news, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So reported last night. Pro Football Talk, NBC's pregame coverage to the game last night. Reports are from Mike Florio that Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, former Seahawks running back, is, quote, up in the air about possibly coming out of retirement and possibly returning in Week 4 or Week 5. So Marshawn Lynch is 30 years old. Obviously, you look at what he did during the Super Bowl with a picture of the cleats hanging up, talking about retiring. He's had an interview with Sports Illustrated saying he's done. There's no way he comes back. He wants to really watch his cousins and just be normal now. But now reports are that he could come back. If he were to come back, the Seahawks would still have the rights to Marshawn Lynch. Obviously, you look at the running back backfield right now. You have Thomas Rawls, who did really good last year when Lynch was absent with injuries. And then you have Christine Michael, who they brought back again. The 1-2 punch could be pretty good for Seattle this year.
They're expected to split the carries in Week 1, and I believe Mike is ahead of Thomas Rawls in the depth chart.
Right.
So we don't know yet, but it should be interesting backfield for Seattle this year.
Right. So Marshawn Lynch, quote, up in the air. I don't know how much I believe this. I think they're maybe just trying to get some headlines. I really don't see him coming back. What about you?
Oh, if Marshawn Lynch coming back? Honestly though, I don't see him coming back because he's 30 years old. That's like 50. That's like 40 years old for a quarterback.
And he's probably not really staying in much shape. He's doing some training with rugby players. That's great, but he's not really being prepared for football. I really don't see any way he comes back. I think if he was going to return out of retirement, he would have done it already.
Yeah, exactly, and I completely agree with that. And plus, Marshawn Lynch, if he comes back, he's not going to want to be on the bench. He's going to want to start, right. And there's no way Seahawks are going to start him.
Yeah, they'd have to do something.
Yeah, with the young players they have at the running back position right now. We saw Thomas Rawls. He was known as Little Beast Mode last year with the way he was playing. Yeah, I don't see Marshawn Lynch coming back for that reason because he wants to start. He doesn't want to be on the bench.
Yeah, I don't see any way Marshawn Lynch returns. I think they're maybe just trying to get some headlines. Who knows? Maybe he is still contemplating coming out of retirement. But I think if he was going to, he would have done it already. I don't think there's any real truth to this, but who knows? No one expected Marshawn Lynch to announce he was retiring over Twitter with a picture, and it happened. So we'll have to wait and see.
Which is probably the best retirement announcement.
That's like so time. Marshawn Lynch.
It
you know
is.
What I mean?
It's the
just
best retirement.
Pace him out.
It's the best retirement announcement I've ever seen. That was the most awesome thing ever.
Obviously, he doesn't like the media. He doesn't have a formal conference. He just Okay, guys, I'm retiring.
He literally took away coverage of the Super Bowl because of that. Because remember, he did it during the Super Bowl game.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't see much truth to this. But anyways, Jeremiah, that is going to conclude this episode of our podcast.
This was fun. The Friday shows are going to be fun this year.
Yeah, guys, we talked about it last week. I think the Friday shows and the Monday shows. Yeah. So you have the show going into the weekend and coming out of the weekend. Those are going to be the best 2 of the week.
And Tuesday,
for sure.
And Tuesday, we're going to be talking about Monday night too. So I'm looking forward to Friday, Mondays, and Tuesdays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's going to conclude the show, though. So that is going to be it for us as we lead you into the weekend. You can hear our platforms on a number of different areas. Jeremiah, what exactly are they?
Okay, you can hear us on a variety of platforms. YouTube, Google Play, SoundCloud, and most importantly, iTunes. We're here, guys, Monday through Friday.
Yes. Monday
through Friday, we're here. And you can also follow us on Twitter at GSMC_football and on Instagram at the same handle. That is at GSMC_football. You can also like us on Facebook at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. And most importantly, the website, gsmcpodcast.com. That's such a dramatic process. And don't forget, our show is free, guys, most importantly.
Yes, absolutely. It does not cost a single penny to listen, you know.
Well, it might cost to listen to it on like a device, but other than that, it's free.
Yeah, our show is free. There's no subscriptions or anything like that. You can subscribe for absolutely free, $99. So that's going to conclude this episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. I am Ben.
And I'm Jeremiah, guys, and week 1 is here, folks, of the NFL season.
Yes, absolutely. Week 1 is here. College football is here. It is a great time to be alive and a great time to listen and record the GSMC Football Podcast.
What a time to be alive.
I couldn't have said it any better than you, my friend.
Yeah.
So that's going to conclude this episode. Thank you for listening again, and have a good weekend, guys. Goodbye.